There are two flavors of science, if you will. There's one that limits itself to what can be easily controlled and measured. Then there's true science that's on the frontiers of human knowledge, creating new concepts, exploring new realms of experience, new perceptions. And that's where quantum physics is, and that's where psychedelic research is right now. So this isn't unscientific. This is the frontiers of science. The essence of the spiritual life is gratitude. To live in the present moment, to be thankful for having one precious human life, to be honest, direct in your communication with people, to be part of the family of man.
You're listening to the Inner Calling podcast. This is a place where we honor the light inside us that's always guiding us home. My guest today is Dr. Bill Richards. He's a pioneering clinical psychologist who is an international leader in the study of psychedelics. Since the 1960s, he has been researching the clinical and spiritual applications of psychedelic-assisted therapy, and he's been a central figure in reviving psychedelic research today. I invited Dr. Richards to the show because I'm really interested in the potential of psychedelic medicine to help people who are really struggling with their mental health, especially when other treatments haven't worked. I'm also interested in the role that spiritual and mystical experiences can play in healing and how we can better integrate them into mental health care. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much for being here today. What an honor it is to spend time with you. Thank you.
Mutual.
So my first question for you is, can you tell us about a time that you had an inner calling and what happened when you followed it?
Well, let's see. It's been unfolding for decades, and it still unfolds. What comes to mind is when I was in 6th grade, I had a wonderful chemistry lab, and my father was a high school chemistry teacher, and I was going to be a great scientist. And I made hydrogen with my friends in the evening. But I was also a musician, and I really loved playing Chopin, especially classical piano. And so I had this struggle between, would I be a scientist or a musician? And then I went to a Methodist church camp in the summer, and there was a strong sense that I was being called to be a minister. So I let go of both identities, even though I still developed them. And from 6th grade until I arrived at the Yale Divinity School, working on a degree in theology, I knew exactly where I was going. There was a strong inner calling. And then when I got to Yale, I stopped reading my Bible every day.
Why is that? Why is that?
Just the emphasis on the cognitive instead of the experiential at that time, perhaps. Who knows? But then I like to complete what I start. So I did get ordained as a minister. Very few of my friends know that. But then I was called, if you will, the inner calling took me out of the ministry, or out of the institutional ministry into my degree at Yale turned out to be teaching and research in religion. And then I moved into psychedelic research because of the profound experience that occurred when I was 23 years old. And that was only 63 years ago.
That was only 63 years ago.
And I've been doing psychedelic research ever since. So that has become my calling. And now I'm teaching and consulting around the world, trying to train psychedelic therapists so we can use these sacred molecules wisely and responsibly. And who knows what I'll be when I grow up, I'm not quite 86 yet.
So it was an inner calling that led you down this path with your career. And how would you say that the calling presented itself to you?
Just an intuitive feeling of direction, what was right. I would have labeled it as God's work in my life, I spent more years in graduate school than I probably should have. I just loved it there. And I explored all kinds of disciplines, psychology and sociology and philosophy and theology itself and music. And I think it's a good orientation for all of us to be open into what we're becoming, that we're never finished pieces, that the inner calling keeps unfolding and directing and opening new vistas.
You said it was intuitive and that it felt like God's work in your life. What is God to you?
Well, certainly there's no words that can capture God. It's beyond language. But we have these terms like ultimate reality or the ground of being, the Atman Brahman unity. And there's two ways to think about it, the great unitive consciousness and the interaction with the archetype, if you will, with Christ or Krishna or whatever, the God in personal manifestation. And they're both incredibly meaningful. And some people tune into one and some into the other and some into both, you know? So I had an ayahuasca experience in Brazil several years ago that comes to mind. And the theme of it was God in the form of Mother Ayahuasca, who is lovingly creating each of us. So each of us in that framework is a sculpture in the midst of the creative process. And sometimes when she presses hard, it hurts.
She chips away.
Yeah.
A large chunk just fell off.
But that we are all in the process of emerging, of being created. And none of us are finished products yet. You know?
Oh, that is so beautiful.
That kind of captures where I am, you know?
It strikes me that you still ended up incorporating all the things that were calling you.
That's right.
The religious,
That's right.
the spiritual, the scientist, the creative musician in you. And I want to talk about your book, which I have here, Sacred Knowledge. What a beautiful book. It is very inspiring, and I'll tell you why it inspires me so much is because you really do a wonderful job integrating science with the spiritual, and I think that's so needed today. Is ways for it doesn't have to be separate, that it can all make sense together. And it gives me a lot of hope just knowing that the mystical is actually alive and present and available to us. Can you tell us a little bit about what does sacred mean here? Because sacred can be such a loaded word. We're talking about words on
some
sacred.
people don't like it.
Yeah.
You can cross it out and substitute awesome if you like. Yeah, to some people, sacred means
Dirty.
the worst of institutional religion. Of
Like dirty,
sitting
bad,
on
go away.
uncomfortable, sitting in uncomfortable pews and long, boring sermons.
Yeah.
But there is an awesome, intrinsically sacred, I believe, dimension in our minds, in human consciousness. And when you tap into it, you know it's there. It's not necessarily seeing a vision of the Christ. It may be just falling deeply in love with your spouse or your children, or seeing the beauty in nature, whatever, or walking in. I think most people who walk into a Gothic cathedral or Islamic mosque with a beautiful dome of intricate patterns, or a beautiful synagogue, for that matter, with Romanesque features, perhaps. You know, there's an intrinsic feeling of what I would call sacredness, even if you didn't grow up in that tradition. You know, somehow you speak softly and you admire the beauty of the architecture.
We all know it.
Yeah, and that may be an echo of neural architecture, actually. Who knows? You know, but there's this intuitive feeling of holiness, sacredness, specialness, the mystery of life.
Have you been in touch with the sacred mystery of life your entire life, or was it really when you started studying psychedelic substances?
Well, I can't say I remember what it was like in the womb, okay? But I grew up feeling loved and in a very beautiful part of the country, northern Michigan, up by Lake Superior.
Oh, that does sound beautiful.
And I always felt a closeness with nature. I can remember as a little kid meditating deep in the woods on a blade of grass, and thinking how miraculous it was.
Real child.
Well,
I guess as a child,
when
we
I
are
look
in
back,
touch
that's
with
kind
wonder.
of weird behavior for a little kid. And there was a feeling of the closeness of the divine in my prayer life as a little boy growing up, but nothing like the unitive consciousness, the Atman Brahman unity that occurred when I was 23 years old and had received psilocybin in Germany. That extension or dimension of religious experience was theory at best.
It's opened something up inside you. Can you tell us about
But
what
all
happened?
of a sudden it was real.
Yeah, can you tell us about that journey you made at 23? What happened? You took psilocybin, and then what?
Yeah, well, I had recently arrived in Göttingen in Germany for the second year of my Master of Divinity studies at Yale. And I was only 23 years old, and I was adjusting to a new country and a new language. Didn't know a soul yet, And in the psychiatric clinic around the corner from my dormitory, Hans-Karl Leuner, a psychiatrist, was doing research with a new drug that was supposed to elicit memories from early childhood. And I thought, that sounds kind of interesting. And two of my new friends or acquaintances there had participated. One had experienced himself sitting in his father's lap, and his father had been killed in World War II.
Oh, my.
And this was just profoundly meaningful and healing to him.
Wow.
And the other one described seeing visual images of SS Schutzstaffel men marching in the streets from the Second World War days. And I thought, gee, I've never seen a real hallucination. And this sounds like fun. This sounds interesting. So I went over to the clinic and asked if I could participate in the research. I was studying my dreams that time, writing them down in the morning, and
Nice.
I thought I'd get some new insight into my Oedipal dynamics, maybe, or something, And they asked me if I got drunk very often. I didn't. So they said, you're acceptable. And they led me down to this little basement room with a cot, an end table, and a narrow window looking out over the hospital garbage cans. And they gave me an injection and left me alone.
And this was psilocybin?
And it was psilocybin. But I had no idea what psilocybin was. I didn't even know the word psychedelic at that point.
You just went and took yourself to get injected with a mysterious substance in the room looking over
This was
garbage cans.
before the research world knew anything about supportive set and setting.
Wow.
We was just testing a new drug that Sandoz Pharmaceuticals had made, and they would send it through the mail to any researcher who wanted to test it out. There was no controversy. It was fully legal.
What year was this?
This was 1963.
Oh, okay.
And it was perfectly reasonable to give any drug, certainly any LSD or psilocybin, to a graduate student if he wrote a good report. Why not? It's a non-addictive, interesting new substance. Triggers interesting states of consciousness. It's hard to believe. It almost sounds like a fairy tale. Back in the days where there was no controversy, it was perfectly legal. And it was even academically respected, as a potentially valuable tool in studying the human mind, which of course it is.
It was held with esteem in the institution. Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, I lay on that little cot, trusting my spiritual life, I guess, that God would be with me if any grisly memories of my Oedipal dynamics came up to haunt me. And to my amazement, my consciousness just opened up to this exquisitely beautiful, meaningful, unitive state of consciousness that I was simply awestruck by, that felt more real than the state of consciousness we're in right now. This is revelation. This is eternity. This is the ground of being. Put whatever words you like on it. The void that contains all reality. We have all kinds of words that point towards it in all of the great religions. But it appears to be a state of consciousness that is accessible for all of us. It's part of being human. And it's there. And it's not only, I would say now, 63 years later, having done lots of research with all kinds of different people, that it's not only a big surge of awe and wonderful emotion, but it has power to strengthen us, to decrease anxiety and depression, to give us a sense of direction, to enhance values that could contribute to world peace, perhaps. It removes the fear of death, which is pretty awesome. And at least in the United States, there's a lot of fear of death still.
Yes.
And one of the applications of psychedelics I support most strongly in my limited time here is the application of using psilocybin in palliative care to help people who are approaching death live until they die and not just hide from the world. I don't want anyone to see me this way, And instead, we're learning that it can really help people live more fully. And that's happening internationally. Just this morning, I was in contact with a group in Belgium working to make it legal in palliative care. In Canada, in Australia, in Switzerland, in the Czech Republic, etc.
Yeah.
It's becoming very reasonable to use psilocybin to facilitate these profound experiences in people who are approaching the end of their lives.
Could you share some stories on how it helps alleviate anxiety about dying and bring a lot of peace?
Yeah, well, it's really an incredible frontier because when a transcendental experience happens in the mind of, say, a cancer patient or anyone else for that matter, there's typically a claim of a loss of the fear of death. Mm-hmm. But in my experience, I haven't seen anyone become suicidal. Rather, they kind of look forward to death with curiosity.
With curiosity.
It's amazing how many people are mortal if you look around, And so maybe death is part of the structure of life. And instead of hiding from it or being afraid of it, we had to look it straight in the eye and be curious about it. It doesn't necessarily entail belief in personal immortality, that I, Bill Richards, will continue after death. Although some people have had experiences that would support that. But there's a sense of that the universe is in good hands. That in spite of all the struggle and suffering in the world, there's a bigger plan. There is an eternal world it's not only before time and after time, but in Zen Buddhist language, it's in the middle of the present moment if we can wake up to it.
What's in the middle of the present moment?
Awareness of eternity, outside of time.
It's available right now in the present moment.
Up. With your heart beating and your lungs breathing, whether with psychedelics, wisely used, or with many meditative techniques, or natural childbirth sometimes, or the runner's high, or creative fervor, or sensory isolation, sensory flooding, this state of consciousness opens up, reveals itself to people.
A couple questions. Why can't we access this? Why is this not our everyday state of consciousness? Why?
Well, I think that the task is to integrate these experiences, to kind of have one foot in the eternal world and one foot in the temporal world.
That's the work.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, And it's freedom and determinism. It's fighting for social justice, trying to decrease the unnecessary suffering in the world. Right now in Israel and Iran, and so on, there's a lot of agony going on. So it's being involved in that on one level, but on the other, kind of sensing that in spite of all the suffering, there is a bigger perspective outside of time.
These psychedelic substances
and
help
that
us.
gives a sense of perhaps inner peace, of this is what religions are all about, that God or whatever your favorite sound in the air may be for that deep mystery is really real. Paul Tillich, Protestant theologian, has this wonderful term that he called the really real God.
The really real God, yeah.
I mean, that there are many different paths up the spiritual mountain of all the great world religions. And they're all worth traveling, and they have hidden treasures and traditions and rich manuscripts, and they're all worth studying. But ultimately, there's one really real God, and that God is really real. So relax and take a deep breath as you go and protest in the streets, you know?
Oh, that's what it is. These psychedelic substances help us see what is real and take away some of the illusion around us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The struggle in the world of time is real. Yeah. Grief is real, but there's a bigger picture.
Is there a world beyond time from what you've experienced?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
What is it like?
Well, you can tell me too. It's beyond language. One of the characteristics of these transcendental or mystical states of consciousness, however they're facilitated, is their ineffability. In the Tao Te Ching, the sacred Taoist scriptures, those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. Or the Russian poet Tuchev, I like to quote, who says, when it comes to talking about mystical consciousness, quote, a word that's spoken is a lie, unquote. It's ineffable. It's beyond language. One way I try to illustrate it when I lecture is the fantasy of a caveman being transported to a modern city, where he sees skyscrapers and airplanes and cell phones and et cetera. And then he zapped back to his cave. And his wife says, Gorg, what did you experience? And all he could say is it was big. He doesn't have the language yet for skyscraper and cell phone. And it's that feeling when you come back from these transcendental states. There was an order, there was a beauty, there was a symmetry, there was a meaning, there was knowledge, but I don't have words to talk about it. Another piece of that is the paradoxicality in language. I died, but I was never so alive. Nothing, but it contained all reality. It sounds like nonsense, but it's always both and instead of either or.
Yeah. What I love about psychedelic substances is it reminds you there are states of being that transcend language, and language is actually a tool, I guess, that our ancestors developed, but that there were states of presence and being beyond that.
That's right. And language keeps developing, But, and maybe if I knew Sanskrit, I'd have a few more words than English.
Yeah.
But English is really impoverished when it comes to talking about transcendental states of consciousness.
For listeners that are not as acquainted with psychedelic substances and feel kind of hesitant, and their main association with it may be as a federally illegal drug.
That's right.
Can you share why these substances are important to seriously consider for human well-being?
I think of Alan Watts' line, they're taboo because of the fear of knowing who you are, the cultural taboo. You're not allowed to wake up to your spiritual dimension. Now, why not? What's going on
Is
here?
it because of capitalism? You want to sell us more things?
Yeah, let's make money. Let's not love each other. It's a question of values, priorities, balance in life, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, may I ask you, now that you're getting older, what do you think of death? Are you afraid of it, given all your experiences you've been through and the journeys you've had?
I have been with so many cancer patients, beginning in 1967, and accompanied them as they approached death and using psychedelics with them to explore their own minds and prepare. And I've had a couple flavors of cancer myself, so I qualify too. Though they're in remission right now, and I like it here, and I hope to stick around another decade anyway. But I don't fear death. There's this strong sense that ultimately all is well in the universe. And whether Bill Richards as a separate entity continues to exist doesn't matter. I'm living my life now, speaking my truth. I'm even doing a podcast with you.
As well, yeah.
I'm just trying to live in the present and be myself. And when death comes, I think of it as probably like waking up. It's probably not anything very dramatic.
You think of it as waking up to something.
Yeah.
Waking up to what do you think it is that we'd be waking up to with death?
To the deeper, higher states of consciousness that are intrinsic to being human. Yeah.
Do you feel that you'll be with God, or that you are God, or how do you feel like it all works?
Oh, that's language stuff. Yeah. I'll certainly participate in what we call God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insofar as I am God, yes, perhaps, but so is everyone else, you know?
Do you believe in consciousness, that it's something the brain produces, or do you believe it's something that the brain receives?
I just got Michael Pollan's latest book last night.
Oh, did you? I want to get it. I can't wait.
I doubt that I'll understand it anymore after I finish it, but he's doing what he can with words to talk about this mystery, you know. But the fact is, we really are just crawling out of the primeval mud when it comes to understanding what consciousness is, what we are. We can dissect a lot of human brains and we can't find a person anywhere, you know? I sometimes like to play with the metaphor of searching for that beautiful woman who gave the weather report last night by dissecting the little transistors in my computer, you know? I'm not going to find her there.
Hey.
And that's one way to think that the brain is certainly involved in our conscious experiences and can alter it in some ways.
Can't be reduced to it.
But correlation isn't necessarily causation, you know? I love Teilhard de Chardin's, I think it was Teilhard who said that we are all spiritual beings having human experiences right now.
Right. Yeah.
And somehow when you wake up to what feels the confirmation of that. My gosh, I really am a spiritual being, you know? And so is everyone else, including those who never go to church. Yeah. It's just the way it is, folks.
Yeah.
And then these beautiful, transformative, life-enhancing, trauma-healing experiences emerge. They're discovered by people. Makes me think when my book first came out, it was 10 years ago now, I got a beautiful letter from a man in northern Canada who had a spontaneous mystical experience when he was about 17. And it was kind of the grounding reassurance of his life.
How beautiful.
Yeah, but he had never spoken of it. He had never even told his wife about it because he felt he would be judged schizophrenic or it was crazy.
It's to me that it's very important actually to bring more awareness to these states of being and more validity to them because they have a lot of significance to our lives.
That's right. So when he read my book, he realized he wasn't alone, that other people experienced this too. Yeah. And he finally told his wife.
Oh my gosh, that's a gift.
Yeah, but there are many people who have had very profound alternative states of consciousness. They simply don't need psychedelics, if you will. It was Abraham Maslow, who I had the honor of studying with, a humanistic psychologist. And Abe was a natural Jewish mystic. He could just lie down in his backyard and the heavens would open up for him sometimes, you know? He didn't need psychedelics.
He just was connected to that.
Yeah. Maybe his organism created more DMT than the rest of us. Who knows what, you know? But it came naturally to him. And I think there are philosophers and religious leaders and very ordinary people in the world who have spontaneously glimpsed these very meaningful states of consciousness. And they may not be sure what words to put on them, you know, or what framework to use to try to integrate them. but they know that there's something very beautiful, sacred, meaningful, awesome in the depths of our minds.
And it's interesting because I feel that in modern life, there's a disconnection from taking these states seriously or honoring them or just feeling more and more jaded.
Yeah. That we are, as a culture, estranged from transcendence.
Yes.
We've forgotten who we are.
We're actually feeling more and more disconnected and broken.
Yeah. I love Jeremy Narby's line that once you've seen, whether spontaneously or with psychedelics or whatever, once you've seen, you cannot unsee.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Because there's something intuitive. It's like, how do you know you really love your spouse?
You just know. Well, there's a state of knowing.
It's not a rational thing. It's an intuitive thing.
Intuitive knowing, intuitive knowledge, like you talk about in the book. Can you talk more about this knowledge? Yeah,
I think, especially in our academic worlds, we tend to devalue intuitive knowledge. As rational thinking is the only way to approach truth. I'm very fond of the psychologist of religion, Rudolf Otto, who wrote, Das Heilig, translated as, The Way of the Holy or something like that. Mm-hmm. But Otto says we're capable of three things as humans. We are capable of being rational, and that's great. Think clearly, systematically, do science well. We're all capable of being irrational. We can be stupid and do stuff we regret,
Yeah.
But we're also capable of being non-rational, which is the intuitive potentials of being human. And one way I like to illustrate that is the theologian Paul Tillich did his dissertation on Gottfried Wilhelm von Schelling, the German idealist in 17th, 18th century. And Schelling did his dissertation on Plato. And the assumption in academia is that Tillich liked Schelling because he read all of Schelling's stuff in Germany in a dark carrel in a library somewhere. And that Schelling liked Plato because he read Plato's writings in Greek,
Right.
But there's another way of looking at that, which is that Tillich, Schelling, and Plato, in the depths of their minds, experienced the same unit of consciousness.
Interesting.
And then they found these other people in the world who had written about it, And so
was accessing the unit.
Yes, Einstein said anyone who can't perceive the mystical is just blind to an aspect of reality. Yeah. And not only Einstein, but in the modern era, geneticists like Francis Crick and Carrie Mullis and Steve Jobs, they attribute their mystical insights with psychedelic drugs to their creativity, that it enabled them to explore other states of consciousness and think in new ways and perceive new patterns.
I think Steve Jobs did psychedelics, but did it lead to the iPhone? Do you think it led to the iPhone and the creation of all that? I guess it must have.
Could be. I'm not sure. But, footnote is there's a lot of people who have taken psychedelics who have not become Francis Crick or Steve Jobs. But maybe they haven't done their homework or they haven't taken a high enough dose in a supportive setting or dealt with their personal conflicts sufficiently to be able to break through to the transcendental dimensions of consciousness. But they're there.
So when these psychedelic substances can help us access this unit of consciousness, which is a place where intuitive knowledge exists. And this intuitive knowledge is just a place of knowing. And it goes beyond words. It's just, you just know it, things deep inside yourself. It transcends words.
Yeah, William James, The Varieties of Religious Experience,
Yes,
this Harvard professor who was running around sniffing nitrous oxide at the turn of the century.
Love him.
Yeah, right now we have this big social science center, the William James Hall at Harvard, honoring him. Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever have a Timothy Leary Hall or not.
Yeah, Ram Dass Hall. Yeah.
A Ram Dass Hall.
Yeah.
But it's William James who called attention to what he called the noetic quality of mystical experiences, which is the intuitive knowledge.
Yeah.
That it's not just a big surge of emotion, but it's also knowledge.
What is it?
And when different people report the same intuitive knowledge, there is a reliability there,
Why do you think Western society got so split from intuitive knowledge?
Good question. Yeah, this whole realm isn't new. Supposedly psychedelics have been around since about 9,000 BC.
Yeah.
And they emerge in cultures and they get suppressed, and they emerge and they get suppressed over and over.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It is funny. I think the Egyptians took a lot of psychedelics.
Yeah, Egyptians?
I think the Egyptians must have taken a lot when I examined their culture.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And maybe the pendulum of development moves from the intuitive to the hyper-rational, or who knows what.
In our society, we're so...
we in the West have kind of lost touch with it.
Yes.
As a whole. I go to an American funeral home and I see a red light on the face of the corpse to make it look more lifelike, versus India, where you sit and watch the cremation at the Ganges and the people throw the ashes in the river and walk away without looking back.
Right.
While kids play next door cricket, perhaps, while the cremation is going on. It's accepted as part of life.
Of the life, yeah. There's a disconnection in Western society.
Yeah. We're doing better than we used to do with sex. Sex used to be much more taboo, and we used to have all kinds of mental illnesses tied with repressed sexual feelings.
Yeah.
Now, women are allowed to be orgasmic without being sluts.
Right.
And sex can be seen not only in its playful, sensual dimension, but in its spiritual dimension. This is about love. This is about creation of life. There's something very wonderful about it.
I see what you're saying. Western society, we've gotten disconnection from life.
Yeah, right. But we're more in tune with sex now than we used to be.
Yeah.
But death is still largely taboo. What would the world be like if the majority no longer feared death, but still lived until they died, as I've witnessed?
What do you think it would be like?
Well, think of all the unresolved grief that's manifested in depression and anxiety and tense muscles and rigid judgmental attitudes towards life.
I know.
Yeah. I went to the funeral, so that's over. Mother's dead.
Well, I think I've been depressed about my death for the last 39 years. I'm serious. I have been depressed about it, and only recently have I decided to embrace it.
Yeah. No, and
I felt a lot happier, actually.
It might be great when we get there, but there's no rush. Let's be here now.
Well, yes, exactly. And when I say embrace, I don't mean there's no rush. I don't mean there is a rush. But when I say embrace, I mean acknowledging that it's going to happen, and like that that time is limited.
That's right. Or that we are... I love the Buddhist approach that we are given one precious human life. We're here for one little slice of unfolding history.
Yeah.
Probably for less than 100 years.
Not even a millisecond in the whole history of time.
That's right. But Heidegger, we discover ourselves in the world for this brief period of time. Oh my gosh, I'm a guy in this incarnate. I got white skin, living in the United States,
What does it all mean then that we all die?
Yeah, as Heidegger would say, I'm moving towards my death.
Yes.
But I'm moving with a community in connection with other people who are also going to die.
Who are also moving towards their death, I guess.
That's right. And this is just the way it is. This is the way we discover ourselves in the world. But so let's make the most of it. Let's enjoy this unique human adventure we've been given, you know?
Do you think the fear of death causes a lot of suffering in our society?
Yes.
How do you see that?
Well, especially in terms of the symptoms of, well, fear of one's own death and one's values, what's important and what's not. Relationships, many people are stuck in repressed, constipated grief that they have never felt free to cry or scream after the funeral is over.
Yeah.
But there's still work to be done, you know, or laugh for that matter. To accept death as part of life and go through that grieving and keep living, you know?
It's like going
That's called
beyond,
mental
it's
health.
like going past fear, because death is so associated with fear. It's like fear has a grip on all the things that you do. And when you sit with it, at least from my own experience, it's felt, like you said, more free to actually live.
You know, there's
some kind of paradox there. Yeah.
In the Mexican Day of the Dead, you know, where skeletons are kind of dancing. There's something refreshing about that. You know? It's like reminding us, skeletons are part of life. There's one inside each of us, you know? But they're really quite wonderful. Yeah.
I'm still having trouble processing. So when I asked you earlier, are you afraid of death? You said no. And then because you will go to the unitive consciousness. But I still don't understand. Why are you not afraid of dying?
I can't guarantee that I'll go to the unitive consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
I might come back as a jellyfish next time. I have no idea.
So where did the fear go? What happened to it?
But whatever happens, there's an incredible, intricate wisdom in consciousness. Those are the words that just flow now, you know, that I choose to trust.
You choose to trust.
I underline the word choose.
Yes.
Also in terms of if someone decides to take a psychedelic, you know, I think it's very important that they learn how to navigate in the inner world before they take it.
Do
they
you
don't
have
just
advice for them?
Don't just throw the drug in your mouth to see what will happen. That's stupid. That's like going skiing with no instruction.
What advice do you have for people who want to experiment and
hopefully find a place where you can do it legally so you don't have to feel guilt about breaking the laws. It's ridiculous that you have to go to another country right now to do that in many places, except a few states that are getting more enlightened. But there are principles of navigating. For example, if there's something frightening that appears, you go towards it as fast as you can. Embrace it. Kind of say, well, hello, are you ever big and scary? What are you doing in my mind? What are you made of? What can I learn from you?
Go towards it, don't risk it.
You go towards it.
Okay.
If you run from it, you're going to have a nightmare. Get smaller, it'll get bigger, panic will grow, you might get paranoid, you're going to have a bad trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not because the drug causes a bad trip. It's because you're not prepared to deal with the opportunity that the drug is providing. The drug unlocks the door. And what you do when that door is unlocked depends on your intention, your preparation, your grounding, your feeling safe.
What if you meet shadows?
Yeah.
Dark, very dark stuff inside.
Wow, that's a wonderful therapeutic opportunity. Let's see what the shadow is made up of. I wonder if the shadow is ticklish. You go towards it.
Yeah.
It's an invitation for human growth. But you have to be ready to accept it. You have to be willing to go through some suffering in your personal and spiritual development.
For that growth.
Yeah, there may be unresolved grief you got to tumble through today, and you're not going to see any beautiful visions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's worthwhile. That's a good day.
Is there such a thing as a bad trip?
Yes, but a bad trip, I would define a bad trip as an experience of panic, paranoia, confusion that's unresolved. And typically that occurs when people aren't ready. They're not prepared. They take too big a dose or the wrong dose. They don't have a supportive setting. They don't feel safe. And they unlock more than they're ready to deal with. And then they fight to escape from it, to control it. And then they have a bad trip.
Right.
And they blame it on the drug. It's like jumping on a pair of skis with no preparation and crashing into a tree and breaking your leg. Yeah, that's a bad trip.
Can I tell you about a bad trip I've had?
But we don't make skiing illegal because some people don't get the instruction they should.
I want to get your thoughts on this trip I had one time.
Okay.
I took psilocybin, and in this journey, what happened was it was like a demonic voice. And the demonic voice said, kill yourself. And it wouldn't stop saying it. It was like this feeling like, you've got to kill yourself. I've never felt that so acutely, maybe a couple times in my life. So I just sat with that feeling, and then I resolved to not kill myself. Mm-hmm. It was like holding on to myself. What do you make of this trip?
Right.
What do you make of this trip?
Sure. Well, there is this experience that's often called ego death, where the everyday self, my Bill Richards, if you will, does need to die, to let go of control, to melt, to be transcended, to be left behind. In mysticism, with or without drugs, there's the transcending of the ego, the everyday self, the openness of the transcendental realms of awareness, visionary and unitive, and then the rebirth of the ego coming back. Okay? Oh my gosh, here I am in a body in Baltimore, Maryland, or wherever, Yeah. But after this death rebirth sequence, the memory of the eternal, the infinite, stays with you. So did I experience it? Did it experience me? That's a matter of language, okay? But I remember something intrinsically awesome that many would call sacred or holy or eternal, okay? And I will never be able to forget it. It's there.
Right.
It's vivid within my mind.
What you're saying is you've died many times in your trips.
Yeah. And I have seen literally hundreds of people go through that death rebirth cycle, and including good atheists. It's their religion, and just like being a Presbyterian. I'm an atheist.
You have to die to be reborn. You have to let yourself be shattered in order to experience who you really are. Yeah.
You have to go through the shadows. You have to embrace the shadows.
Yeah.
And don't let the inner demon scare you. Yeah. Think of a Tibetan mandala, the circles and the squares. At the 4 gates, there's often these big...
I love those mandalas, yeah.
Black monsters who are kind of guarding the gates, Well, if you want to go through that gate, you look the monster in the eye. He's really there to protect you, And you go through the gate towards the center of enlightenment, of waking up. Okay.
Oh, that's what those gates and those mandalas mean?
Yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I get out of them, that they're really your guardian deities.
Oh. Do you have many fears? Do you have many fears anymore? Because you strike me as someone who feels really at peace. Just kind of, and back to that saying you choose to trust.
Yeah, I choose to trust. I feel at home in the universe most days. But also, sometimes I think there's no horrors left to experience. It's not that my life has been pampered or easy, Yeah. My first wife died beside me after 20 years of marriage. I loved her very profoundly. Mm-hmm. I had a child who died prenatally. As a therapist, I work with people who have gone through all kinds of agony and suffering and abuse and despair, like I don't minimize the suffering of life.
Yeah, and yet despite it all,
I do have the sense that it's all part of a bigger picture. And that's the essence, really, of all the world religions.
Why does the suffering have to be part of the picture? I hear so many people ask. Like, can
I
there
don't
really
know,
be a God if they allow
I
suffering?
haven't created a universe lately. I don't know why it's created this way, but darn it, this is the way it is.
You just have a faith and a trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have this faith and trust before psychedelic substances, or did the substances deepen it, or what happened?
Yeah, I probably had it in a milder form. My love of nature, my family was not without its struggles, but basically I felt loved and welcomed into the world. Not everyone is so fortunate. I've been blessed with good health, basically, in spite of having a couple episodes with cancers that are in remission right now. I meet with a group of cancer patients once a month who have all received psilocybin therapy, some of them quite a few years ago. And the theme in that group is living until you die.
Living until you die.
And it's amazing. Some of these people, they're very different from each other. Educational, age-wise, health histories, but they support one another beautifully. And they're all doing courageous things. One is going back to school for another degree. Several have been doing international travel, et cetera, et cetera. They're not hiding from life because they have cancer. And I sometimes wonder how much that attitude of living fully impacts the functioning of the immune system. Some of them do die occasionally. People without cancer also die, by the way. But it's like, I'm too busy living to work death into my schedule right now. I've got things I really want to do, and I'm busy living. That's
the kind of attitude. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's just such a healthy, life-affirming approach to the world.
This is what's
and
missing from healthcare.
And I think if more of us in Western society especially felt that, the world might be a less crazy place.
There is a humanness that you are describing in our conversation. As we talk about death, as we talk about life, as we talk about this group, there is some kind of humanness that you're talking about that I feel like is being more and more forgotten, but we need to make more and more touch with.
As if we need to hide our suffering somehow, or just endure it with hopelessness.
You're right. The humanness has to do with the suffering.
It's the old medieval Saint John of the Cross, who has this wonderful concept that in our spiritual development, when you arrive at what he called the dark night of the soul, moving through your depression and your traumas and so on, you're really making progress.
That's exactly it. It's all the spiritual impurities are coming forth.
It's part of the journey.
Part of the journey.
It's not a bad trip. It's not a detour.
The separate. Yeah.
And we all have our personal sufferings to cope with. But it's part of the journey.
I was talking with someone yesterday, a friend, about mistakes and how there's really no mistakes. Like, don't think of it as a mistake, but just experience. It was all just experience. There's a humanness.
Be true to yourself, speak your truth, but listen to those people who disagree with you. Learn what they have to say and what they've experienced and the languages and concepts that they use. Then we could have successful United Nations instead of killing one another in battlefields.
I feel like the world would really benefit if more people took psychedelic substances.
If they took them with wisdom and support, if they knew how to do it wisely, which is available. If you look for that information, it's out there on the web.
They have to be taken with reverence.
And also the right dose of the right substance. A lot of psychedelics out there on the black market are not pure. You don't quite know what you're taking, and but responsibly, carefully done in a trusting, supportive context with the motivation to develop spiritually, psychologically, and which includes the willingness to move through suffering if it comes up.
With the darkness and yeah.
Yeah. If you don't go into the darkness, you can never see the Milky Way.
It's true. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. You know all these good quotes. How do you remember them all?
I don't know. They just keep bubbling up inside of me.
Wow. You're really inspiring me. I guess that it's okay to die and get older.
But, and it's okay to live fully. Yeah. Take some risks. Explore that relationship. Visit that foreign country. Read that book that you've been procrastinating about. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have advice for all of us who are younger than you on life and all the experience you've gained from all your patients and all your research and all the psychedelic journeys?
I think Brother David Steindl-Rast, the Benedictine I think he's in Austria, who is only 99 years old and he can't get around to dying. But he says the essence of the spiritual life is gratitude. Grateful.org, if you want to look him up. Okay. And I feel that to live in the present moment, to be thankful for having one precious human life, to be honest and direct in your communication with people, to be part of the family of man. Hey, welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, that's what's really needed. That's what we need with each other, isn't it? Welcome to the club. It's a difficult club, and there's a lot of suffering involved.
Yeah. Boy, we got some incredible initiation ceremonies.
Where do you find your joy? How do you laugh so much?
Don't know how to answer that. I'm just being me.
Is it with the gratitude?
Yeah.
How do you practice gratitude and make contact?
If I die tomorrow, I will be very surprised, okay? But I'm living today.
Is that the source of the joy?
I'm just very thankful to be having a human life.
What is so great about having a human life?
I don't know what's wrong with me, but I like people.
What's so great about human life? Yeah, because
I don't know. The variety in my circle of friends and neighbors, in my private patients and research volunteers. There's an incredible variety of humanity.
What about all the mistakes and the shame and all the things you did in your life that you regret? Like my dad holds on to them all the time. He spends every day thinking about them and feeling miserable.
There are only three things I regret that come to mind.
What do you do with them?
Laugh at myself as being insecure and ignorant and imperfect sometimes. One of them was I was invited to have dinner in the Harz Mountains in the home of Martin Heidegger when I was 23 years old. And I was just trying to read Being and Time, Sein und Zeit, and I was too insecure to accept. And so I declined the invitation. I regret that. I was insecure once. We probably would have talked about the food and the weather and bonded as friends. But he was just this idol way up on a pedestal, and I was just a humble student. I didn't dare kiss his feet yet.
This is one of your top three this is one of your main life regrets.
Yep. And now he's dead, and I can't talk to him,
What did that experience teach you?
Yeah.
What did that experience teach you? Just like, don't be...
Yeah, and speak your truth, be courageous, meet new people. That's one thing about being older. You begin to realize that all these people you've had on pedestals, were also human.
So just people.
They woke up every morning and went to the bathroom just like you do.
Yeah.
And they're not gods. They're struggling human beings who had some insights that they wrote about.
Something clicked in my head when you said, welcome to the club. Oh, I'm going to keep that. I love that from you.
Yeah. They were struggling human beings too, trying to make sense out of life, Yeah.
What were your other regrets, if you want to share or not?
Oh, I trust you. And all. The other two, when the Mormon temple at Washington Beltway first opened up, which is a beautiful building. It's the stairwells, actually. Beautiful
I've never been there.
Stained glass in the stairwells. But they opened it up to allow heathen to tour before the day of consecration. And I was going through it, and the people leading the tour were just being unbelievably arrogant, condescending, that these unwashed non-Mormons were entering their temple.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I was holding my 2-year-old, 3-year-old son, I think he was about 2, in my arms. And we were going up this stairwell with this pompous tour guide. And I looked over my shoulder, and my son had his hand on a fire alarm. And I didn't let him pull it.
That's your regret.
Yeah, that's my regret. They would have had to vacate the building.
It's funny.
And the other was a brief marriage of mine that was a big mistake.
Okay.
Where I married someone with many shared intellectual interests, but not sufficient depth of heart. And it crashed and burned. I wished I could have avoided that, Yeah. But I had been single for 17 years after the death of my first wife. There was social pressure to, come on, remarry, no one's going to be perfect. And I made a bad choice.
What are the lessons there? Like, what are the lessons?
To trust your heart.
Trust your heart.
To be alone.
Trust your heart to be alone.
Don't be unduly pressured by other people.
What happens when you live your truth, have you found? As life goes on and you live your truth more and more.
I don't know how to put that into words. I just live each day. Here I am doing a podcast with you. I enjoy teaching and consulting and seeing private patients and hiking in the woods and playing my wonderful grand piano and
maybe you just find your place
having
in the
dinner
world.
with friends.
Maybe you just find your place in the world.
It just kind of unfolds. It forms to come. I get invitations from people like you.
It's the trust. It's some kind of trust. Or you kind of get to see where life leads you. Oh, and that's the fun of it. Seeing where life brings you. Yeah.
People used to ask me if I would write a book. And I'd usually tell them, oh, no, I don't need to do that. I've said what I need to say in some articles.
No, this is a great book because you were able to capture so much into this book.
Yeah. Well, this woman from Columbia University Press approached me at the end of a lecture I gave at a conference of religious professors and offered me a book contract.
Oh, so this kind of just happened to you.
Yeah. And
that's what you're talking about. Like life just kind of brings you things.
Yeah. And the book just tumbled out of me in 9 months.
In 9 months you wrote this?
Hardly any rewriting.
Are you serious? This is incredible.
Well, I had done a lot of living before that.
It just tumbled out of you in 9 months. That's unbelievable.
But that book is now translated into 10 additional languages, even Chinese.
Even Chinese, so I can give it to my dad.
Yeah, it's out there. I can't read it. There is a picture of me on the cover, but other than that, I have I can't prove that it's mine.
What's your favorite chapter? What's your favorite chapter in this book?
Oh, I don't know that I have one.
I really enjoyed reading about the visions and archetypes.
Yeah. What comes to mind is the interpersonal chapter, how the everyday horizontal dimension of life is meaningfully integrated with the vertical dimension, if you will, the spiritual, how relationships really matter.
I really like you talking about the psychedelic frontiers in religion. Can you speak more about that? I feel like religion is something our society is moving more and more away from.
Well, religion is always evolving, changing, growing, stretching. As we grow and evolve, it's not a question of which one is right. They're all right. They all contain truth, And I can appreciate, I think, any religious tradition, except if one says that only mine is right and everyone else is going to hell.
Yeah.
That's a little underestimating the wonder of the world, I think. But one of my fantasies is using psychedelics in theological education. If the wise use of these drugs can really trigger profound religious experiences, perhaps there should be opportunities for clergy to safely and wisely receive them. Not required at all, But how about a weekend workshop with academic
that would be
credit
wonderful. Yeah.
called Seminar in Religious Experience, where people are prepared, they're given psychedelics in a group context and with preparation and skilled guidance and initial help to share and integrate their insights. It would be a marvelous learning experience. And theologians can do that right now by going to South America and participating in an ayahuasca ceremony, for example, or peyote with the Indians or whatever. But why should you have to leave the country for that? Why couldn't it be integrated in meaningful, responsible ways into our educational system? And the result would be that more clergy would really believe what they were saying in the pulpit someday. That there'd be a sense of what Till called the really real God, the sacred dimension.
And then bring people closer to religion as a result of that.
Yeah. And it would bring leaders in different religions closer to one another. I recently did this study with professional religious leaders from different world religions, giving each of them 2 high-dose psilocybin sessions
What did
a
you
month
find?
apart. 2 things that most of them gain new insight and appreciation for their own tradition.
For their own tradition.
Whatever it was, for the richness, deciphering the symbolic language, etc. But they also felt an increased appreciation for other roads up the mountain, if you will.
They
or
did
other
also.
World religions.
Yeah.
So they wanted more friendships, if you will,
That's
with
really
people
what's needed in the
of
world
other
today,
faiths.
too.
Yeah, very wonderful.
So
no one harmed, everyone thankful. And actually, if there's listeners here who are interested, there are organizations on the internet now, chefaflow.org, building bridges between psychedelics and Judaism, Ligari.org, bridges between Christianity and the psychedelic frontier. And then Rouhani Spirit is building bridges between Islam and the psychedelic frontier. But there are more and more religious professionals who are becoming interested in the potential of psychedelics to enrich their ministries and lives. So it's not exclusively a medical, let's see if we can enhance psychotherapy. That is important.
And you're saying they're becoming open to other traditions.
Yeah, but there's also, as I outline in my book, not only medical applications of psychedelics, but educational and religious applications. And they're all worth exploring.
Can you tell us about some of the psychedelic frontiers in education?
I invite you to read that chapter in my book, but like if you really want to understand Plato, why not give yourself a chance to experience what Plato apparently experienced? That it's not just an intellectual construct, it's a experienced way of being in the world. If you're a professor of comparative religion and you really want to understand Dante, who in the last line of the Divine Comedy says, "It is love that moves the sun and other stars." I never thought of Dante as a mystic when I took world literature in a college. But now I want to reread his Inferno as a series of trip reports.
If I would give one book to somebody who is interested in understanding more about psychedelics and delving into this world themselves, I would recommend your book. I'm serious.
Well, thank you very much.
It does a really nice job capturing all the research. It's extremely well researched and gives a really important background and basis for psychedelic substances and understanding all that it can open up inside you. Yes, it really is marvelous. And, my favorite chapter was the visions. I feel that visionary experiences are not really spoken about much in our culture, but they can be quite profound to receive these visions. They're actually gifts. Tell our listeners a little bit more about
for example,
visions.
the vision of the Christ, or the vision of Krishna or bodhisattvas, you name it. But they happen in people who don't expect them. I've been with good atheists who had experiences of the vision of the Christ, almost embarrassed by it. Where did that come from? Okay. But it seems like it's just part of what Jung would call the collective unconscious, the furniture of the mind, the distinction made in theological circles between the Jesus of history, who walked the earth for a brief period, and the Christ of faith. And the idea is that the Christ of faith is the eternal archetype outside of time that always has been and always will be, that was before the historical Jesus was born and was revealed in the life of the historical Jesus. So you can be a good Christian and honor your archetype of the Christ, and you can still honor the Hindu who talks about the drop of water of the Atman merging with the ocean of Brahman, of the unitive consciousness. There's not Eastern mysticism and Western mysticism, but there's human mysticism. And most of us, it appears, can experience both the visionary symbolic realm and the unitive mystical realm.
I see so many people feel guilty for, I don't want to say straying, but incorporating other traditions into their practice.
Yeah.
But I really believe in an authentic spirituality, developing your own
That's
spirituality
right.
of what is meaningful to you. And it's okay to take things from here and there and nature. And that's actually the actual spiritual journey.
That's right.
Yeah.
Your own journey through time in this particular lifetime and seeking what gives it meaning and direction. And it boils down often to feeling and applying this energy we call love.
Do you think all the creators of the different religions, they all are coming upon the same transcendent higher being?
That's a respectable viewpoint, yes. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that they all took psychedelics, though some of them may have,
Which do you
maybe
think?
just in
Which ones
terms
do
of
you
moldy
think-
bread.
Which
I
ones
don't
do you
know.
think were influenced by psychedelics? I'm curious.
Well, it almost doesn't matter because it's the content of the discovery, not the trigger of the discovery that matters.
Yeah. I'm just so fascinated with the ancient traditions.
The mother of my two sons had profound transcendental states of consciousness delivering each of our sons.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. And, it was not without the pain of childbirth, but it was an incredibly beautiful experience for her. And what generated that? Well, the miracle of birth, whatever that's all about, the changes, physiological changes in breathing patterns, huffing and puffing as you give birth, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. But the fact is that it happened and was incredibly meaningful,
Yeah. And where do you see the future of psychedelic medicine going?
I would like to see them legally and intelligently integrated into both medicine and religion.
And religion.
And in time, perhaps into experiential learning in our universities. The psychedelics are very valuable tools in exploring new knowledge and the mystery that we are.
For those of us who believe in that vision, what can we do to support it?
Educate people. Why don't you have a podcast and invite someone like Bill Richards?
You hit upon my
You're in your
chin.
part. Okay.
Yeah.
And those who listened can take this podcast and cast a net deeper.
And read this book. I think it is important to say that I love psychedelics because they integrate spirituality with science in a
Yes.
way that is really important for mental health and can alleviate a
Yeah.
lot of suffering and give you hope and life.
Going back to my colleague, friend, teacher, Abraham Maslow, he wrote in 1966 this book, The Psychology of Science. And his model is really that there are two flavors of science, if you will. There's one that limits itself to what can be easily controlled and measured. And then there's true science that's on the frontiers of human knowledge, creating new concepts, exploring new realms of experience, new perceptions. And that's where quantum physics is, and that's where psychedelic research is right now. So this isn't unscientific. This is the frontiers of science, the further reaches of human nature, he called it. Let's go there.
Let's go there. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Richards. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for the invitation and all good wishes to your many listeners out there.
Yes, thank you. If you'd like to support the show, the most helpful way would be to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or YouTube or Spotify.